So yeah, I run the Al-Maida initiative. Al-Maida is an Arabic word that means a table full of food and conversation. And the reason we exist is to train Christians to understand Islam and to be able to accurately communicate Christianity to Muslims in a way that they understand. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been looking over John 4 a lot. And I think there are actually a lot of parallels between the Samaritans and Muslims. The Samaritans were a group of people who lived right next to the Jews, but the Jews never talked to. They had some shared spiritual heritage, but alleged that the Jews had corrupted their scriptures. So the Jews never had any dealings with them. But Jesus breaks two social norms by talking to a Samaritan woman at the well. And as he's talking to his disciples, this group of people that they've never even considered before, he says, "Lift up your eyes and see, the fields are white for harvest." And that is exactly what I see being on the front lines in the Muslim world. Very often, I think Americans and Christians tend to be standoffish with the Muslim world. They tend to see them primarily as kind of a sort of invasion force or people who are just sort of unreachable to some capacity. But that's just not true. The opportunity is huge right now. So, does anyone remember the Mahsa Amini protests that happened in Iran a few years ago? So there was a woman who was killed by the Iranian police for not wearing her head covering. And during that time, there was a woman who joined those protests against the Iranian government, and she was put in jail. And when she was in jail, she spent 8 days crying out to God, asking for help. And on the 8th day, a mysterious glowing figure appeared to her and says, "You're on the right path, but it's not your time yet." And she asked, "Who are you?" And he said, "My name is Isa," which is the sort of general way Muslims refer to Jesus. Then she married an Iranian with American citizenship, moved to the Seattle area and decided to start trying out churches. She went to a Catholic church and something just felt off to her, so she didn't go back. Then she went to a church in Bothell where she liked it, but she didn't really speak any English. Then somebody from that church invited her to one of our events where she was able to meet our friend Caesar, not this Caesar, Afghan Caesar, who speaks Persian fluently, and then he was able to answer a lot of her questions. So she'd keep coming to these events we'd have. And this year, Refuge helped us by hosting a potluck or barbecue every other month. And this Iranian woman came to this event here. And during the event here, and this is the first time this ever happened at any of our events, she actually finished wrestling through her questions and told us all through Caesar that she was finally ready to follow Jesus. And I believe she's getting baptized in like 2 weeks from now. And she's connected to the local Iranian Presbyterian church. Did you guys know there's a local Iranian Presbyterian church? I have another friend who used to work at a store down the street from here. Grew up as a very serious Muslim in Pakistan. And when he didn't know any Christians, he would drive past Refuge Church all the time. He told me this the first time I met him. And he said, I just kind of wish I could just go in there and ask questions. Well, you guys would love people to just walk in here and ask questions. And so I promise you there are more people like that. You have more neighbors like that. The opportunity is everywhere, and we are here to help you walk into those opportunities. And you've just had tons of stuff going on. So I want you, next time you see your Muslim neighbors, or any of your neighbors you don't understand, to ask yourself the question, what might God be doing here? And in what way might I be involved with this? Now, as Al-Maida, most of what we're doing is here in the Seattle area. We're not only working in the Seattle area, because this area is a wacky international city, as you can hear from my wacky international accent. And through a litany of divine circumstances, we had a woman who lived with us for a month from Saudi Arabia, lost her scholarship, ended up getting a job at the Saudi royal court, went back to Saudi Arabia with a Bible, started reading it, confided in her cousin that it was starting to make sense to her, and her cousin says, "By the way, I've been a Christian for 7 years and you should be too, just don't tell anyone." Then, another Saudi we had became a Christian here in Seattle in 2018, went back to Saudi during COVID. Do you guys remember COVID? You guys remember that? And, you know, that time where we all had to stand apart and wear masks and stuff, kind of obscure reference, but she met her dad's old high school friend who ends up being another Saudi Christian. And when I was in Dubai to try and help a group of Afghan Christian refugees, how we met Caesar, not this Caesar, I met him at a poker game, the Afghan Caesar, we had to go to Abu Dhabi to try and meet some people with the US government. And I ended up meeting this Saudi Christian friend of my Saudi Christian friend who invited us to go and train the local church in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So we, as a team, went to Saudi Arabia earlier this year and got to do a training for the local church there in Riyadh. And we were blown away by how open the Saudis were to having conversations and how much latitude the government is currently giving people in order to be able to almost openly practice Christianity. There's still no legal churches right now, but it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell situation. What we are going to try and do is become the first legally recognized Christian nonprofit operator in Saudi Arabia and try and do what we're doing here in Seattle in Saudi Arabia legally. And we got a 40% chance of this working. So I just want you guys to know that your support is helping us be where we are. The gospel is going forward. But I don't just want you guys to help fund us, and I do want you to help fund us, so thank you. But I want you guys to enjoy this too. We have events here at Refuge that you can come to. You can come meet your neighbors. But more than that, I hope you go meet your neighbors who you know outside of this and invite them to our events here at Refuge. So thank you guys.